Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Ross Johnston. There were a couple big games in college basketball last night. Number 4 Arizona beat number 3 UConn 71-67 in a thriller. Freshman forward Koa Pete put up 16 points and 12 boards in that win. Also, number 11 Alabama beat number 8 Illinois in Chicago last night 90-86, with LeBaron Philon leading all scorers with 24 points. Vols basketball plays tonight as they face Tennessee State at home with tip set for 6 p.m. You can listen to the Vol Network coverage of the game starting at 6 right after 3HL. Week 12 in the NFL kicks off tonight with the Buffalo Bills facing the Houston Texans. Houston will be without quarterback C.J. Stroud, and Buffalo will be without multiple offensive weapons in tight end Dalton Kincaid and wide receivers Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, and Mecole Hardman. You can catch the Westwood One coverage of the game as we will join in progress here on The Zone after Vol basketball. Lastly, in one piece of NFL news, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was spotted at practice taking starter reps today, with Joe Flacco taking backup reps. Burrow's status for this weekend is still up in the air, but is trending in the right direction, per Ian Rappaport. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll be joined by Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered in studio coming up in the next segment. We'll talk to him, give the latest update of Lane Kiffin, because he's got 2 tweets out here, and there's some wild movement based on what he's hearing and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get him to explain on that, and maybe he can drop another Josh Heupel is going to go to this thing. You know, they get blown way out of proportion.
He's on the list.
He was on a list, and that turned into Josh Heupel's taking the LSU job. But we'll talk to him more about that. But I got a question for you, Blaine.
Uh-oh.
And it's about the College Football Playoff Selection Committee.
Okay.
Okay.
The committee.
Well, about whether or not this is the correct way to go about it. Oh. And you may not be able to answer, but I just wanted to get your thoughts.
I always got Ross to help me.
Yeah, Ross can listen. He can help. You can phone a friend if you have to, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Ross will help that old guy.
It feels like when you see that Notre Dame with their resume is ranked, and again, it's just one spot higher than Alabama, but that can change your path to the college football playoffs greatly, and that they seem to weigh more the losses than the wins. Do you feel that is the correct approach, just in general, not about Alabama versus Notre Dame or anything right now, but just
who did they
theory.
lose to, Notre Dame?
Notre Dame lost to
Miami.
They lost to 2 ranked opponents at the time that they played them, Miami and Texas A&M. They have 2 wins against ranked opponents, USC and Pitt. Now, Alabama lost to, of course, Florida State at the very beginning, had me all depressed. And they lost recently to ranked Oklahoma, 23-21, but they beat in a row, by the way.
4 ranked teams, right?
Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee.
Yeah.
So it seems that the logic would dictate that they are based, right now at least, in this projection, weighing the losses more than the wins. Do you think that's the correct way to go about it? Just in general, not just Alabama versus Notre Dame, but in general.
I'm not sure which way is the right way, but I'm going to say this. I think there's a Notre Dame bias. I said this last week in my mind. We never even got to it. I think there's a little bit of bias for Notre Dame. I think they moved them up because they don't want them even close to Miami. Think about this now, because if they keep winning or Miami moves up, next thing you know, there's going to be a head-to-head conversation. Notre Dame's at 11 and Miami's at 12. And they're going to say, but head-to-head, Miami beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they're ahead of Alabama. I think they want a gap there to help soften the blow. Alabama should be ranked ahead of them right now. That's just how I feel. Yeah, because that means that I believe in that they had more quality wins.
Yeah, I mean, because
So I do. Yeah, I mean, even though I'm kind of in the middle,
Right.
But at the same time, they're supposed to beat. Notre Dame's. They're supposed to beat the Miamis, but Miami was ranked at the time, right?
Right. I mean, five ranked opponents for
impressive.
Alabama is pretty impressive, and 4 of those are wins. Whereas they split with their ranked opponents, and they'll only have 4 by when it's all said and done. They'll have 2 losses and 2 wins. Granted, the losses are 2 college football playoff teams, right? Miami and Texas A&M, but their only ranked loss for Alabama is, again, against a ranked team, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And they are against, and that's a college football playoff team, and they have a win against a college football playoff team in Georgia. So to me, it feels like I get why they weigh some losses, because there is a growing sense of parity and everything. But again, the Florida State team and the Alabama team that met week 1, they're 2 totally different teams now.
Yeah, I would say Alabama should be ranked ahead just because of not only those wins, but they barely lost to a team that's already going to be in the playoffs in Oklahoma. They're the last game. So I just, I'm not even attribute. They may have said that on the broadcast, and it's hard to tell if they really believe what they're saying anyway.
Right.
They're trying to make answers to some of their reasonings, but I just think it's in the Notre Dame bias. And I really believe what I said. Like, that they want to keep a separation there, a gap between them and Miami, because if they stack up, then everybody's going to talk about Notre Dame shouldn't get in. And, I grew up a Notre Dame fan, and I'm saying that there is a bias right there. I just believe it. They beaten 2 teams, or lost to 2 teams that were ranked at the time, and now one team is kind of in the middle of the road in Miami, where they're 13 or so. So, yeah, A&M, that was a real loss.
Yeah, and then they only lost by 1, which is a good loss to have. If you're going to have a loss against a ranked team, Texas A&M seems to be the one.
But it's funny that it's Alabama, because typically Alabama kind of gets that favorable.
Yeah,
when
and they're not
with
getting
Notre
that favorable.
Dame, it ain't get it last year either, by the way.
Yeah. Bryce in the F&M Bank chat, Twister to YouTube, Facebook Live, definitely agrees with you. He says it's to split Miami and Notre Dame in different tiers.
Yeah. And I don't know how everybody was talking about that they do these different tiers. Did you know that? And like, how do they break it down to which teams are in what tier when they do that? So I was trying to figure that all out. It became just a lot of, man, that's probably why I'm not on those boards and making those votes.
I could see you being in there being like, but the games are the games. Who cares about all this math?
Yeah.
Well, but
because they are using math.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was.
I'm with you. I feel like in college football and like these tournaments and stuff, like even predicting the playoffs, it should be pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
And they make it so much more complicated than I feel like it does, because there's so much money involved.
That was what I was going to say. We talk about the NFL being a business all the time. Like, this is entertainment. So who's going to draw the eyeballs? Notre Dame's going to draw the eyeballs, as opposed to most of these other fringe schools.
Yeah. I could see it. I mean, like, I understand. I don't agree with their process, but if that is their process, I understand the results. But I also do not like, I do think that they're inherently in college football. I feel like there's a lot of bias no matter what. And I do think that when you're weighing in really what has been played on the field, and you see the Alabama team that barely lost to Oklahoma, but they beat Georgia, who is currently number 4, and they haven't played Texas A&M. But when you look at Vandy is a fringe SEC college football playoff team.
Yeah.
I mean, Missouri's not, but they were ranked 14th at the time. Tennessee was ranked 11th at the time. Like, those are still quality wins, whereas I feel like Notre Dame, I mean, their best win, like, that is really a good win, is probably the USC win, who was ranked number 20th, and they won by 10 points.
Right. And they're not doing the gauntlet back to back like Alabama did. And so that's real there, man. That's tough to do.
And really, Alabama just has to, handle their own business at this point.
They do. I think that Notre Dame stomping Pitt helped last week.
Yeah.
Also, how scared are you about the Iron Bowl right now, Zach, as we sit a couple weeks out? You know that field's haunted, by the way.
I'm not concerned. maybe there's a little bit of hubris with that, but I'm just not concerned.
Yeah, I would be concerned. I watched Auburn. And
I'm not saying Auburn's not a good team. I have more faith in
a
Alabama.
Rivalry game. You just never know. Just think about this. Wasn't a year when Saban and they won the national championship, they barely beat Auburn. And Auburn wasn't. They were middle of the road team, just kind of where they are now. Got some really good athletes. And then, they barely got by them. So, I'm sure they will be, but I wouldn't be stunned.
I think it will be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Auburn's got some elite level athletes on their team.
Well, and I think they kind of figured out the formula. Since they fired Hugh Freeze, is like, please just throw it to the 2 NFL wide receivers. Yeah. Like Cam Coleman is going to be probably. Yeah. If he wasn't in a class with likely like Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith and those guys, I think he could be better than Ryan Williams at this point. He's at least playing up to snuff into his ability that I think they kind of figured out, we got these 2 amazing wide receivers. Let's just throw them the ball, where Hugh Freeze had like 3 different offensive coordinators for 3 different situations, just like Hugh Freeze overcomplicated.
Yeah, rivalry games in the SEC, all bets are off in my opinion. It doesn't even matter who's having a horrible season or not, man. It's one of those ones you got to be. I mean, even in Mississippi State, Mississippi. Yeah. I wouldn't be stunned. Guess what? They could play spoiler to Ole Miss. I mean, they could do. I mean, man.
And Auburn's probably wanting to do it too. They're wanting to play spoiler.
And then they keep losing really close games. I mean,
it will be a close game, but I think Alabama's going to pull it out.
Oh, I think they should, but
you never know.
Never know.
Let's go to Kale on the phones. Game. Kale, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey guys, what's up?
What's up?
You got it.
Well, I'm driving down in a complete rainstorm on I-40.
Oh, be careful now.
Yeah, I know. All right. Here's my point. By the way, I want to say kudos to my guy that is doing all the shows here today. He knows who he is.
Oh, Ross?
Ross.
Yeah, Ross, behind the glass.
Man, Ross is awesome.
Yeah, man, the man of steel.
He's a man of steel, Blaine. Me and Trevor came over and we went Titan thing, and remember when we took that picture together?
No.
Trevor Vasquez? Yeah. Well, anyway, here's my point. So I called in to 3HL, and I thought my boy was Ron Slay. We go banter back and forth on Instagram and all that stuff. And last week I called in on Friday to the zone to 3HL, and I said, I drive this luxury transport thing, Whoosh. RideWhoosh.com, and I said, I bought me a Vandy hat today.
Oh, I know who you are. I know who he bought. He's a UT fan that bought a Vandy hat.
Dude, I'm a huge Bleed Orange UT fan, but I don't care if we go to the Citrus Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, or the Music City Bowl. I don't care. But if Vandy has this one chance to go to the college playoffs, I'm cheering for Vandy. Why is that wrong?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, Kale. I like you.
They hung up on you.
I like you, Kale, but I cannot get on board with it. There is no scenario where I would ever buy an Auburn hat.
Well, okay, explain yourself before our lines just light up on that. Right. This is inappropriate.
It's going to light up. But this is not Tennessee versus Florida. Of course, I would never do that for Florida or Auburn, but we're big brother. But they try to compare it to like Auburn, Alabama, or they try to compare it to Florida, Georgia, or they can try to compare it to. This is kind of like Indiana, number 2 in the country. Vanderbilt's got a chance, and my Heisman vote is if he wins this game, Pavia for president. I don't even care about the Heisman Trophy. I'm hanging up. That's my point.
All right, Kel. State pride. I guess the argument is state pride, but
he didn't say that though. He just jumped around.
So you want to be the second best team in your state?
He says he's trying to not liken it to Alabama, Auburn, the Iron Bowl, but Vandy, Tennessee is a legitimate rivalry. But how about this? I'm never buying a Colts hat. I'm never buying a Jaguars hat, a Texans hat, whatever you want to do. I'm a Titans fan.
Buy it and burn it.
Yeah, I mean, buy it and burn it, maybe. But I'm never rooting. I mean, I just listen.
College is so different in my mind because that's like your pride and joy. Like you never go on the other side.
For most people, you would think. I guess for Kale, not so.
Yeah, he's just following the winner.
When he started talking about Slay, I was like, oh, I know who this guy is. I remember hearing it, and he got railed for it.
Did he?
I mean, by callers that called in. They basically spent the whole Friday show talking about it. I mean, I got to the car, and someone tried to defend Kale that was from like San Diego or something, and Lauren was like, can we turn this caller down? Because they were just letting the caller go.
The caller's got to call in, man, to say, is this acceptable behavior by a fan of Tennessee?
Imagine Zach being like, well, Bama's been in the playoffs a lot. Let's just
cheer for
Auburn needs to win this game to get in. Let's let Auburn win.
Okay, so if he doesn't want to say it's Auburn, that'd be like, I don't know if Georgia would be the second tier, rivalry.
The Georgia Tech game.
I don't know. I'm just not rooting for any SEC school unless they play like Notre Dame or Ohio State. Like, I mean, it has to be very specific reasons for me to root for any other SEC school. If anything, UT has a chance to keep Vanderbilt out of the playoffs. If you're a true blue or true orange fan, you should be rooting against that. Yeah. All right, we're going to ask Chris Phillips this question, and we'll talk about Lane Kiffin and such. We'll go around the SEC with him. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Naturally, holiday season is upon us. And yes, we love going to the holiday parties. But at those holiday parties, we love eating, right? And gaining a few extra pounds around the midsection. An approach to weight loss at Edge Peptide and Hormone Therapy is a little bit different. So make sure all of your patients have extensive lab work and face-to-face conversation in office with our nurse practitioner to create a customized treatment plan tailored to your specific needs. They use only U.S.-based FDA-audited compounding pharmacies because knowing where your peptides come from always matters. You also can enjoy access to their in-body scanner to track weight loss and make sure you are maintaining muscle mass. As well as Edge always uses the lowest effective dosage to make sure that you are resetting your metabolic flexibility, not starving yourself, by the way, Ross. And all you have to do is call the team at Edge Peptide for all of your wellness questions at 724-1878. Of course, that's 615-724-1878 or edgepeptide.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zones, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll be joined here shortly by Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Let me tell you something. That Kell guy, I just could not imagine rooting for Vandy if you're a University of Tennessee fan. I mean, I understand what he's trying to do, state pride and everything, but you are a UT fan. You should be wanting to keep Vandy out of the playoffs, in my mind.
He was saying that's his little brother, so
yeah,
if we can't make it, it's okay if they make it. Really?
I wouldn't be that way.
I think he's pulling our chain. I don't think he would ever do that. I don't think so. He said he's going to go buy a Vandy hat right on 3H.
He's already got a Vandy hat. Apparently, he bought like a $40 or $50 Vandy hat or something like that, something crazy. I mean, it is insane to me.
Well, you know what? We should ask him who's he cheering for when they play at the end of the season. Another week.
Well, that's what it sounded like he was saying, right? I mean, that's how I understood it. He bought a Vandy hat. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. Chris just got in here. He just ran and it is drenched from outside.
There's so much rain going on.
I think it's because it says Austin upside down backwards on his hat. but we appreciate Chris making it here. I'm sure it was a lot of traffic out there with all the rain. You know, here they act like that's snow and people can't actually drive. So appreciate you making the effort here.
The rain in the city, man. People forget how to drive.
That is true.
Traffic's crazy, and I live like 2 miles away. But we're here. I appreciate the comments on the hat. I felt like keep Austin weird. You know, we're about to fly out a little bit later today. So, win in Rome. But
there you go.
Well, I was wondering if that still applies. Like upside down Austin, is that the same thing? Upside down horns? It doesn't matter. It's just
they don't. Nah, it's funny. So I actually, when I first moved here over the summer, I wore this out just for fun. Like fashion, whatever. Cool, and that was the first time I ever had somebody throw horns down at me. I was like, that's what that feels like. And I kind of forgot, you're out and about. I'm like, what hat am I wearing again? And somebody throws the horns down. I'm like, dang.
Oh, wow.
That's what that feels like.
So. That's crazy. Okay, so we got to start off with Lane Kiffin. Because 2 days ago, you said you'd set the percentages as to where Kiffin ends up at 2026 and beyond at LSU 45%, Florida 45%, Ole Miss 10%. And then you say, to say these numbers have changed as just over an hour ago, have changed drastically over the last 48 plus hours, putting it very lightly. And you now have switched from Ole Miss all the way at the bottom to Ole Miss 41%, LSU 40%, Florida 19%. The Buck Rising show was talking about today, the show before ours, said that he's heard that LSU has the highest offer on the table. Is this an instance of where he's given Ole Miss a chance to match, or what caused a dramatic shift?
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? So I don't necessarily, label myself as an insider. I'm grateful and fortunate that people that want to tell me things about what's going on. But this has been a crazy week. I've never spent so much time on the phone as I have this week, from LSU, Ole Miss, Florida people all calling me, people on the outside trying to figure out what's going on. So this thing is obviously changing day by day, minute by minute. I know it's frustrating for a lot of people. Hell, it's frustrating for all of us, but it's just an ever-evolving thing, from Lane going on the McAfee show to, again, different things we're hearing. So, a couple of days ago, I was very skeptical he would end up back in Oxford. He just wasn't moving to me. And you could argue still he's not moving like a guy that's going to return, the way he's vetting his options and making the trips to Baton Rouge, Gainesville, what have you. So within the last 24 hours, you are correct. LSU, if he turns down LSU, he's probably turning down the best monetary value offer on the table. I was told LSU is prepared to make him the highest paid coach in college football, a number right around $15 million a year, probably like a 7-year contract, $120 million, something like that. And they were actually going to put, and they're going to put NIL, an NIL structure in his contract, which I don't think is something we've seen in college football yet. That number, again, these are all rumors, but people I trust telling me that number rumored to be around the $30 million mark per year for his roster. So over the last 24 hours of development, why has Ole Miss made the surge? Again, those same LSU people, which I think it says a lot when it's coming from the other side, when they're giving you a positive report for somebody else. Keith Carter, the Ole Miss athletic director, is an absolute dog. Like, talking to people, this is a go-getter. This is a guy, he's no nonsense. He's the one that put the ultimatum, quote-unquote, on Lane, the timetable, if you will, of, hey, we got to get this thing done. He's no nonsense with Lane Kiffin, right? They are having a meeting tomorrow. We talked about this last night on our show, yesterday. This is now being reported by Chris Lowe. So this is not, I mean, this is pretty solid, pretty good information here, obviously. And the meeting, I have been told, is about the NIL structure in place for Lane, at least for 2026. Maybe it's beyond. But the number I've heard, the NIL commitment is $40 million from Ole Miss. So now we're in a position where LSU, I think, is having to match what Ole Miss is going to do. And I think, listen, the longer it goes, I'm actually starting to feel a little bit better, because some of it is guesswork. I mean, nobody knows what Lane Kiffin's thinking, unless you're in his head, which none of us are. This dude's the ultimate troll. Who knows? Who knows, right?
Right.
But the longer it goes, I'm like, it's obviously not an easy decision for him. And it's like, if this was such an easy decision to go, I think he would have already made that decision to go. Like, he's got that offer on the table from LSU. Florida, I'm sure, has got some competitive offer, although I think Florida has kind of faded into the background. That John Summerall thing that came out where he was interviewing, then he wasn't. I think that was an attempt at Florida. It's kind of like when the girl you want isn't giving you attention, so you go talk to her friend, just try to make her jealous. Well, it didn't work. It didn't work. The girl still didn't want him. So I think Florida's kind of faded into oblivion. Now I think, like I said, Ole Miss, I mean, I give them the slight edge. It could change by this afternoon, if you will, but the meeting with Keith Carter and Lane Kiffin tomorrow, that's going to be the big linchpin in all this. That could be the meeting, I think, that really, because this thing is going to shape college football for the next 10, 15 years. Whoever gets what coach doesn't get what coach. So, yeah, I'd give Ole Miss the slight edge. Again, $40 million is the number I've been told with the NIL commitment. Even if it's not 40, it's around that, and it's a sizable commitment. Because I think the thing Lane is concerned about, he's already said money doesn't matter. Well, money, his salary isn't important. What his players are getting paid. I mean, Lane needs to know he's going to be somewhere where they're committed to winning a championship. They're going to give him obviously the resources in place to go out and get the best players, whether that be the portal, that be high school recruiting. I think that is what matters in all of this. So again, now we got a situation where LSU's trying to match. So you give Ole Miss the slight edge. It is the whole week. This whole thing has been fascinating. I was in Oxford this past weekend with them playing Florida. The whole vibe around that was just so weird. There's a lot of frustration in Oxford, I can tell you, amongst like the big money boosters and people that are like, hey man, like, let's figure it out. Like, what's going on? Like, we're in the midst of one of the best seasons in school history, and you're kind of stringing us along here. But I've also been told, again, it's one of those things. We get news tomorrow over the weekend because they're on the bye week that he signed this extension. They don't care. All that goes away. They just want him back. They want this to be over with and be focused on what the focus should be on, which is this season they're in the midst of and going to the college football playoff. But yeah, I'd give Ole Miss the very slight edge right now. And again, things can change, man. We're all just trying to keep up with it. So it's been a crazy last like 72, 96 hours.
Real quick, I want to ask you that. Do you think eventually it could impact the actual players that are actually playing in the game for Ole Miss, and how he's held that kind of to the fort where they've kind of gone out there, but it's and performed well. But eventually, these guys are young guys mentally. I mean, whether we're talking about 21 or 23, they'll feel like they're scoring at that quarterback. I mean, that their coach is trying to leave them.
Well, yeah, the last couple of weeks, you talk about Ole Miss, you're like, hey, is this going to be a distraction?
Right.
It's the speculation that it could be a distraction. And listen, there's a lot of people that
had to do a presser. I mean,
there's a lot of people that look at the Florida game and them being down 24-20 at half, and they still won, but people look at that as like, your distraction almost cost us. Now, whether that's true or not, give credit to Florida how they play, but people are going to attribute it to that. So, and I mean, heck, I've even been told by people, around Ole Miss that, some of the practices earlier this week, very uninspiring. Like so I do think it's a major distraction. Like, especially in this portal era, heck, it goes beyond the players, it's the coaches too. I mean, again, I've heard there's frustration from top to bottom from the standpoint of like, hey, we need to figure out like, where am I going to be living next year? Where am I going to be playing? Where am I going to school? Like, because obviously if Lane were to leave, you can imagine the roster overhaul, and all these coaches have got to find new places to go. And then you got to find a new head coach. Everybody kind of bracing for impact. So the good news is they don't play this weekend, but I think it's got to get, I tell you, man, like the original decision date, ultimatum thing, whatever, which Lane Kiffin publicly challenged, which again, I think was a very strategic move on his part. And I think he's kind of called their bluff a little bit on like, what are you going to do? Suspend me? You're going to fire me? That's why I think Keith Carter's getting this thing. Like, let's get it moving. Let's figure this thing out. What's going on? Everybody wants him to make a decision. But I think we're going to know by Monday. There's just no way this drags into the Egg Bowl week. I don't see it. I really don't see it, man. I will be, if we're sitting here this time next week, which I guess it'll be Thanksgiving, but if we're sitting like early next week and we still don't know, I'd be stunned. Yeah. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it dragging out that long.
Well, you've been on top of it, man. You the first to say it here, man, earlier, 2 or 3 weeks ago, so. Appreciate that, man. Good kind.
So let me ask you.
Yeah,
this.
we kind of blew up the internet.
Well,
last week,
I was going to ask you.
I was about to say, like, I had some of my balls buddies. Yeah, my balls buddies hit me up. They were like, what? What'd you say?
I checked like 10 minutes.
Was on the list.
Like 10 minutes after Chris had left and A to Z had that article out. I was like, man.
Yeah, I didn't find that till a few hours later, and I was like, ooh, buddy.
Well, it's like, you know,
being involved on Twitter, getting acquainted again.
Well, it was like the fifth name on a list.
Right. It's not like I was saying he is going to leave, which I know we're probably going to talk about the game. Speaking of Josh Heupel, massive game this weekend. But yeah, I don't think he's going to leave. But you know, when you got to, here's the thing. Not to overreact. If LSU doesn't get Lane Kiffin,
that was going to be my question.
Jeff Landry might have to go into the witness protection program.
Yeah.
Not to overreact. I mean, not to overreact. But have you ever met a mad Cajun before? And they're going to be PO'd, my friend. And you know, it's funny, like the name I float out there for Florida or LSU is Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah.
And both of them they vomit on sight. I mean, I talked to Gators over the weekend. They vomit. And I think he's a good coach.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it goes with people still don't, like, those two fan bases don't respect Missouri.
Yeah.
They call him Dorkwitz. Mm-hmm. You know, they're like, hey, he's done a great job there. We don't like the idea of him as our coach. And again, I think he's a good coach. So he's going to, I don't know. Maybe he stays at Mizzou. I don't think he'd be a bad hire either place, but neither fan base is very thrilled about the idea.
Well, you said rumored numbers could be upwards of $15 million a year for
I feel
Kiffin.
very, very confident in that number. Yeah.
So my question becomes, if they don't get Kiffin, how much do they offer the next guy? Because if that's kind of out there, then kind of other candidates know. And is that enough money to maybe pique the interest of one Josh Heupel?
I mean, if you told him you're going to make him the highest, if you told anybody, hey, we're going to make you the highest paid head coach in college football.
You'd have to consider.
You'd have to listen. Yeah. Again, you'd have to listen. I'm not.
Don't have to take it.
I'm not saying Josh Heupel is leaving. I little did I know last week the tidal wave that would create, and he's so far down the list anyways for them. But it's interesting, man. I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. If LSU and Florida.
Sometime it does get to the fifth guy on the list.
It very well could. I mean, LSU's been down this road before when I think it was in 2021. They had the Lincoln Riley fallout, and there was a Tom Herman fallout at one point. So, yeah, a lot of times you do have to get to your third or fourth option. So,
So who are this? Go back through at least the second and third options for LSU.
I think Drinkwitz is up there. I really do, from what I've been told. I think he's an option for him.
Does Joe Brady land anywhere on the list?
I think he's on the list.
Yeah.
One of the funniest things you see is the gambling odds for the next head coach. These are all just all just guesswork from Vegas or these different sports books. Brahms probably a long shot name. I think he's going to stay at Louisville. He's an alum there. Again, I wouldn't put Josh Heupel very high on this.
Yeah.
They're not going to go the John Summerall route. See, LSU's got too much ego. They won't do that. They're not going to take the Tulane coach. I was told that if Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss, that would have probably been his landing spot. Auburn is trying to lock him down and get Summerall to the Plains. You know, LSU's going to swing big, man. I mean, I've been told they're going to ask how happy is Dan Lanning at Oregon. You know, like that type of stuff. So it's so difficult because there's names, but for Florida and LSU. And I was told this about Florida earlier in the week, like their top three options are Kiffin. So it's almost like we'll worry about plan B if plan A doesn't work, but for right now we're going plan A. So,
ooh, that's crazy. Real quick, the college football playoffs, Alabama, Notre Dame seems like they're a little wonky in their rankings. I mean, how do you view? I asked Blaine this question, so I'll ask you. Do you think that valuing losses is better than valuing wins? Because that's kind of feels like their justification for the rankings.
Well, I mean, the thing that, and Hunter Yurachek, just a tough look for Yurachek the other night. when you're saying that, valuing losses, valuing wins, whatever, but we're having this Notre Dame-Miami conversation. Why is one where the other is? Well, we're valuing their loss. Miami beat them. What are we talking about? They beat them on the field. It's all logo biases. Like Notre Dame, as long as they win 10 games in a season, they're going to be in the playoff. It's the Fighting Irish. It's that Indy logo. Every year, we're going to get this. Bama's drop was very significant. I was surprised how much they dropped. I mean, the path is simple for them. You went out, you go to the college ball playoff. They got that big one, obviously, at Jordan-Hare to close out the season. Oklahoma saying, the path is very well defined. The team you didn't mention right here in our own city, man, what about Vandy? Vandy all of a sudden sitting at 14. They might need some help. And I'll tell you this, if a 10-2 Vandy gets snubbed from the playoff, we'll gather all the doors and we'll march flame and pitchfork to Grapevine, Texas, where they do the college football playoff rankings, because it will be a travesty if Vanderbilt were to get left out. But sitting at 14, here's the thing, 11 is going to be the ACC champ, 12 is going to be your G5, so you need to get in the top 10. From 14 to 10 over the last 2 weeks, even if you beat Kentucky, which I think you will, it's not really going to move the needle for anybody. Now, if you beat Tennessee, that'll help certainly, but you're probably going to need chaos in front of you. So, I think that one's really interesting. But yeah, the big drop by Bama, obviously Oklahoma surging, them switching spots. I think Notre Dame's overrated. I think they're ranked too highly. But yeah, I think wins should matter more than losses. Who you beat should matter than who you lose to. And the committee has proven to us, hey, if you're going to lose early. Because people will forget it. They'll forget it if you lose early. But Bama loses to Oklahoma right now. If that loss happened in September, we're not even talking about it. I mean, what happened? Bama beat 4 straight ranked opponents in a row. They won 5 straight SEC games. We just forgot about that because they lost to Oklahoma, who, again, is a darn good football team. And, I mean, heck, Bama fans will argue they gave that game to them, right? I mean, they dominated every statistic, but they lost one of the most important ones, which is the turnovers. So, I mean, I still feel really confident right now we're getting at least 4 in the playoff, potentially 5. Bama's right in the thick of it, certainly.
Do you have time to stay around for maybe another 10 minutes? All right. Coming up next, we'll go around this weekend's SEC slates, including Tennessee at Florida, going to the Swamp, and Kentucky at Vanderbilt. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. And we're going around the SEC with Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Tennessee at Florida. They're heading to the Swamp. They haven't won at the Swamp. Is this their best? This obviously feels like their best chance to win at the Swamp. But where are you leaning towards? 6:30 p.m. game. Florida probably, Florida fans want to beat Tennessee, obviously. Do you think that Tennessee gets it done?
Huge game for Josh Heupel. This is the signature moment where every year he's had that signature road loss, that maddening, pull your hair out, befuddling road loss. And especially, you got the Gators. They don't have a head coach. They're dropping like flies. I don't even hardly know who's going to play at this point. But, Zach, why don't we piss Tennessee fans off again
Let's
this
do
week?
it.
Why don't we do that? Because I'm picking Florida. I bet on Florida. I got Florida plus 3.5. I picked them to win straight up. You're going to have to prove it to me, man. The voodoo of the Swamp is real. I mean, Tennessee fans, we got Tennessee fans in our comments in our chat fully expecting. They're like, it doesn't matter how good we are, how bad Florida is. Doesn't matter the scenario. We're going to find a way to lose that game. So maybe this is the year. You're right. It's their best opportunity, I think, in quite some time. But I think back like 2 years ago, I thought Tennessee was going to roll Florida. And what happened? Joe Milton went out, laid an egg. Graham Mertz and company stomped them. I think it was like 24-3 at halftime, something like that. So there's a mental thing going on in this ball game. Again, like you said, haven't won in the Swamp since 2003. I just think Florida finds a way. Big game, big legacy game for Jaden Ball. I think they find a way, man. It's one of those things, you got to see it. I got to see you go down there and do it. There's such a mental edge in this ball game. Florida's treating this like their Super Bowl. So your best shot at this game is massive for Josh Heupel. Yeah. This is such a big game. Such a big game for him.
Dude, I'm going to ask you something. This may be, off the wall here, but having, I guess, all the transfer portal players, does it matter so much to the players that are on Tennessee now compared to, let's say, just 3 years ago that they can't beat Florida? How does that play with the athlete that's going out there playing? Because they could care less if they've won there the last 52 years only twice. Right? Like,
yeah,
so
it's
how
a
does
good,
that play into that? I mean, maybe that's a coach question.
No, it's a good point. It is a good point. So sometimes I think we do make a little too much of stuff like that because, again, a lot of these guys weren't even born.
Right.
But here's the thing. I mean, I guess you could look at it as there are holdovers from last year in the coaching staffs and the rosters, and like all Florida knows is beating Tennessee, at least at home. And they've beaten them a lot. And Tennessee, they don't know winning at the Swamp. So I do think it plays a little bit. I mean, it's your job as a coach, obviously, to have guys not press and say, hey, what happened before us literally means nothing. I mean, Josh Heupel has experience in this. Think about 2022 when they beat Alabama. I mean, what was that, 16 years in a row they hadn't beaten the Crimson Tide? And there's got to be a team that has that breakthrough moment that does what you haven't done in so long. So streaks are made to be broken. I mean, my goodness, Vandy beat Alabama last year. Yeah. Like, streaks are made to be broken. But
two Alabama references there,
I don't.
There's something.
Please respect my privacy.
I'm just saying, there's something about this is kind of like Alabama's Jordan Hare, is another Bama reference, but like where it's like there's voodoo. The shaman man is coming to get us. We can't escape the boogeyman. Okay. That is playing Florida at the Swamp. So maybe this is the year it changes, but I don't know. I think Florida's going to give them a really spirited effort, and that's a really talented team still. So I will not be surprised at all if the Gators win it.
Well, okay. I know people are kind of like Vandy versus Tennessee, but are they overlooking Kentucky at Vanderbilt in any way?
Isn't that crazy? Kentucky's turned into one of the hottest teams in the conference. Cutter Bowley's balling. They're playing good defense again. They're being physical again. Mark Stoops, the whole fire Mark Stoops, that's completely gone. I mean, they can punch their ticket to bowl eligibility this weekend. So here's the thing. I would be worried about Vandy overlooking Kentucky if this wasn't Diego Pavia's last home game. Because there ain't no way. There's no way that Diego Pavia.
He was out partying with Theo Vaughn, I saw on Twitter.
Good. Great. I feel even better then. Hey, Diego, do you, baby. He's on billboards all around the city now. He's doing work with, I think, a law firm or something like that. And it's a lot more than Diego Pavia, but he's the heartbeat of that team and the heartbeat of that program. I think the number's a little big. I actually saw it came down. It was 9.5. Vandy was favored. That number's now down to 8.5. So I think there's some people that believe it's going to be a close game. I tend to think so as well. Kentucky's been, again, red hot over the last 3 weeks, 3 straight wins. Diego Pavi ain't losing his last home game, man. And we, as college football fans, we need Vandy going into Neyland with their playoff hopes on the line.
Yeah. That has to be.
That's cinema. I mean, that's peak cinema. Yeah, I think Diego has a big day. It'll be an emotional day at First Bank. I'd expect a really good turnout from Vandy folks to support number 2. And I mean, a lot of guys with him too. A lot of those dudes that have changed the culture and laid this foundation. It's a big day for all of them. There's a lot of dudes that won't be returning. So I can't see Vandy falling in that one.
We had a guy call in named Kale who claims he's a massive University of Tennessee fan, huge. And he's rooting for Vanderbilt against University of Tennessee if Vanderbilt can get into the playoffs off that win. Agree or disagree?
That ain't no VFL, man. Ain't no darn way that's a VFL. Ain't no way that's a VFL.
That's what he says. He claims.
That's a door in disguise right there.
Yeah.
I'm going to defend my VFLs out there. There's no way you're pulling for Vandy against Tennessee.
Called him little brother. Said if Tennessee can't make it in, might as well be Vandy.
Listen, man, we're SEC Unfiltered. We cover the SEC, but the misconception from a lot of people, this league, you don't pull for the rival. You don't pull these other teams. You're not pulling for Auburn. Well, we're going to pull for the state of Alabama. No, you're not. Nobody's doing that. No. You don't do that as a fan. So if Vandy wins it, let them earn it. We don't need Vols pulling for the doors. I'm out on that.
Yeah. I do think that Kentucky's, the way that they have been playing, I do wonder if maybe SEC media or fans and everything are kind of overlooking how close of a game this actually could be.
It's sold out too, I think.
Yeah. No, it's a sellout. Kentucky, like you said, Kentucky's been playing really well.
But it is a home game for Vandy.
Yeah, and Cutter Boley, listen, I mean, the weakness of the Vandy defense is that secondary, so I think Cutter Boley can expose that a little bit. But like I said, I just think at home, senior day, I think Vandy's going to find a way. But I love the 8.5 Kentucky. I really do.
Well, before we let you go, kind of off the cuff here, we were talking about a lot about, Kiffin and coaches. I know they're going to put parameters for actual players on when they can transfer and not, and give them dates like they've already done, but kind of narrow it down. Do you think that same philosophy should apply to actual head coaches?
In regards to giving
coaches,
leaving, giving them an ultimatum, you mean?
Well, no. I mean, giving them parameters or when there's times that you can then negotiate to leave and go to another school. That's what players have been given. Should coaches, whether head coach, assistant coaches,
like a window for operating it? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, like the NFL does,
they wouldn't have to do the ultimatum. It's already built in.
I
think a lot of people think that'll never happen, but I'm just asking, why not the coaches too?
Well, the schools need to be able to brace for impact. I mean, that's why I didn't blame Ole Miss at all.
Right.
I didn't blame Ole Miss for setting those parameters. Hey, like at some point, get off the pot if you're not ready. If you know what I'm saying, like it's
because
either go or don't
hire their guy.
Right. We got to move on, man. Like we can't be left out in the cold here because. We can't be left without a date to the prom because we waited last minute hoping you'd say yes. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would agree. I think that's a good idea. I don't think anybody's really ever thought of that before, but I think establishing a window, I mean, that's the thing that makes it so tough is the college football calendar with the early signing period, even though that's kind of lost all of its luster at this point, but it's December the 3rd, I think, or 4th, or that first week of December. Then you go into championship Saturday. Then you go into the playoff, and it's like there's so many moving pieces and people trying to get a jump on next year. And gosh darn, the national championships so late now that we need a designated time where it's like the school's not getting screwed over in this process. And that's why again I didn't blame Ole Miss at all. In hindsight, it's like again, are you really going to suspend him or fire him or whatever? But at least send the message, hey Lane, we ain't messing around. Like we need to figure this thing out. You got to let us know one way or the other.
I'm not here to cold take you, but I need to know 3 things. Is Lane Kiffin going to be at Ole Miss? Who's the head coach of LSU? And who do you predict to be the head coach of Florida?
Boy, these are not easy to answer questions, Zach.
We can ask you again next week.
Lane.
Here's the kicker. Lane's going to coach all 3 teams, first time ever. He's going to do it from a neutral location in the state of Florida. He's going to make $250 million a year. Going to be chilling on the boat.
Zoom.
I think Lane ends up back at Ole Miss. I do. I think that meeting tomorrow, I think, is going to change the narrative for him. I think if he was going to go, I think that it would be we'd know by now.
Do you think it's like a last voice is the loudest voice for him, or do you think it's just going to be
Well, gosh,
that budget
he's
and NIL?
stationed in Oxford. They should have the loudest voice,
They
right?
should.
I mean, that should be the loudest one for him. As far as who's the next head coach at LSU in Florida, that's a great question. I can tell you John Summerall won't be Florida's head coach. That's for sure. One of them is going to get Drinkwitz, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. I think Drink lands at one of those two locations. And I think it's going to be a name out of left field for the other. I know that's not a great prediction. It's so hard because all three are so locked in on Lane, and all three think
And nobody's talking about Arkansas.
Well, and that one, Arkansas. That's an interesting search after they swung and missed on Franklin. I think they're going to get the guy. Eric Morris from North Texas?
Oh yeah,
I think that's most likely. But maybe Ed Orgeron. Watch out. That name's been floating around. Don't let Ed Obi get back in the game. But yes, the key domino here, I think Kiffin's back at Ole Miss. I think by the time we talk next week, whenever that is, I think we're talking about Lane returning to Oxford.
So you're going to Austin this weekend, right?
Actually flying out this afternoon.
Arkansas at Texas. Tell everybody where you'll be this weekend.
Yeah, we'll be in Austin, man. Excited to get back to the state of Texas. It's always a great time. I know the game doesn't have quite as much riding on it as maybe we would have hoped. I'm excited to see how Texas responds after getting their teeth kicked in their manhood challenge against Georgia. How do they? I think it's a big culture game for Texas. How do you respond the right way? Do you respond the right way? And can Arkansas pull an upset? But always love getting to Austin, man. We've got a big Texas support base that follows along and supports us. So, yeah, really excited to get down there.
Real quick,
go ahead.
Pick a team. Texas, Oklahoma. Who's had the most success so far in the SEC?
I think you still got to go
Jordan.
Texas. I mean, Final Four finish last year. I still think you got to give them the nod. Let's see if Oklahoma can do something in the playoff. Then maybe that changes. But yeah, right now I think Texas has played an SEC title game. Like, you still got to go Texas, I think.
All right, there you go. Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. You can go hang out with him in Austin for the game this weekend. We'll talk to you again next week.
You guys rock, man. I appreciate it.
All right. It's Titans Ticket Thursday. Each Thursday before home games, we'll be giving you a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Tennessee Titans game. Be caller number 5 now to win 2 club-level tickets to see the Titans host the Seahawks at Nissan Stadium this Sunday. Caller number 5 now, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're broadcasting live from the 104.5 The Zone Circa Sports Studio. Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circa Sports in Kentucky Downs. And Blaine, I have a bunch of clips to play that I cut because Ross won't cut them for me anymore, even though that Kale, the UT trader, gave. How do you feel about getting all those props and compliments from Kale, who isn't really a VFL?
I don't know if Kale's head's in the right place.
What?
But
I'll take him.
A lot of it has to do with Cam Ward and the surroundings of Cam Ward, what they have not done to help them, what they are doing to help them, how it could benefit. But I wanted to start with this because we talked a little bit about this off air yesterday. But there was a oh man, I'm going to forget the guy's name, but he does a Football 301. Nate Tice.
Oh.
Nate Tice. And I sent a clip that a fan had sent me and everything, but we're not going to get into his whole entire clip, but he said the Titans are a year away from being a year away, which means that the Titans are at least, sounds like 2 years away from competing. Not that they're going to be competing in 2 years, but like, let me say this. I guess I should say playoff contending, because they're competitive right now in some of these games. They're just not able to close them out because they don't have the horses to close out these matchups. But they're a year away from being a year away. I kind of agree with them with their slow building approach when you really don't have to, but also recognize that, hey, Cam Ward's growth in year 2 could potentially not make it a year away from being a year away. It just depends on really lots riding on Cam Ward right now in year 2, but I kind of feel what he's saying. I was like, yeah, I kind of feel a year away to year away.
That's hard to, think that it would be otherwise. But, some things can fall their way depending on how the draft goes and free agency. And they have a lot of dough. So you just never know and how much they hit chemistry and it works. And then all of a sudden, Cam hits this uptick in year 2 with maybe some more proven players or guys getting better. In 2 years, I would think in today's NFL that they could be playoff contending. Yeah, no doubt. And you just never know where that'll go. I'm probably a little more optimistic because of the way the NFL is now. Mm-hmm. You can transform your team pretty quickly as they had, 33 new players out of the 52. So if that continues, now getting some more proven players with a mix of super talented players, depending on position, if you get an elite pass rusher, you get a number 1 wide receiver, a young one, maybe somebody that goes to Ohio State or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it seems like all those Ohio State guys are all across the league now. So they have proven that they have the recipe for NFL wide receivers and getting them, super talented 5-star guys. I think it could be sooner than you think. They're starting to now show that they can be competitive in every game. Now it's about closing and winning and being more consistent throughout. I thought we'd see that sooner than later, and it's just kind of taken a while. Probably with change of coaching and everything like that. So and losing some players through your trade or injury. So I think it can be done. I think, but yeah, they probably on point. You'd think 2 years from now, how good would your Titans be? If they're not middle of the road type team, at least I'd be stunned. To be honest.
Yeah,
they should be there.
Well, I just had a quick question for y'all about free agency, and I know it's early. We don't know who all the candidates are and whatnot and what positions of need we'll be targeting necessarily, but would y'all prefer they target more guys who are going into their second contract, so probably more expensive, but, they're younger going into their prime, or would you target more guys who are, say, like, end of their second contract, they're up maybe 28 to 30-year-old range, like more veteran-type guys?
That's a good question. It kind of feels like there's a lot of guys that are exiting their first contract that are about to hit the market. Now, we'll see what those teams do, but I would prefer to maybe spend, depending on the position. Like, I'd rather spend my money at cornerback than probably safety. even though they don't have to spend their money at safety. But, like, I would rather maybe them spend their cornerback there, money on cornerback than interior defensive linemen and stuff like that. It's interesting because they have 23 players currently starting for the team or playing for the team in any capacity, and a few on IR that are on their last year of their contract. 23 players. That's just real quick, bear with me. Jahai Ward, Jalen Armour Davis, Darrell Baker Jr., Joey Sly, Morgan Cox, Johnny Hecker, Van Jefferson, Chiga Conquo, Sebastian Joseph Day, Kevin Zeitler, Arden Key. That's a lot of starters right there. Then you got guys that like James Lynch, CJ Ravenel, Oli Udo, Sam Womack, Mike Brown, Shai Tuttle, who've been playing a lot. Then you have these reserves like Blake Hance, Bryce Oliver, Anthony Orji, Julius Chestnut, CJ Ravenel, and Joe Bacci. That's not to mention that they have 6 free agents, or they have 6 guys they could potentially cut. Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed, Tony Pollard, Xavier Woods, Cody Barton, Lloyd Cushenberry. Not saying that they're going to cut all those guys, but those guys are potential cuts. And they can get, what I mean by that is they can get out of those contracts with gaining a lot of money, gaining some money in cap space, but a lot of cash. Like, they only save $10 million cutting Calvin Ridley, but they gain against the cap, but they gain $21.75 million in cash. And cash is king right now for this team. So I don't know. I do agree with the premise of they're a year away from being a year away, but if you hit on a lot of the signings and Calvin Ridley, Cam Ward takes that jump, J.C. Latham and Peter Skoronski continue their trend. Dan Moore stays average. And then you have guys on the defensive side of the ball that are Cedric Gray continues his trend. And you may not be a year away from being a year away. You may just be a year away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. I wonder what your thoughts on Cushenberry.
I don't know where I land on Cushenberry. I think you have to roll with Cushenberry another year at least. I mean, the further away you are from the Achilles, the better he's looked, but he hasn't lived up to the contract. But center, there's going to be so much change around Cam Ward that maybe keeping a center that he's already built rapport with is better than bringing in someone just totally new. I'm almost viewing him as kind of like, and this ain't going to sound good, but like a Dan Moore type guy. Like, his best right now is average, but you're not getting average consistently enough. But I'm willing to make that judgment call at the end of the year. But I'm trending and leaning towards, I think I would keep Lloyd Cushenberry right now.
Who's the kid they drafted that potentially could be a center, but he's guard?
Yeah, Jackson Slater.
Okay.
So he may still be a year away, but he could be your potential Kevin Zeitler replacement. But he could also, technically, to your point, like you just brought up, could be your Lloyd Cushenberry replacement. Mm-hmm. You're definitely going to need an interior offensive lineman of some sort next year.
I think there's multiple ways to kind of approach this. I think you got to look at the moving targets, and that is what will be available to you outside of the guys you mentioned. I think I agree with all of that in free agency. And then what can you target? What's the strength and the weaknesses of the draft? Strength and weaknesses of free agency. You have to approach it that way, and then you say, okay, what pieces do we need? And we can kind of go in certain directions in, the draft and free agency. I think every team would be saying that this is totally different than the other team. So what are you targeting right now? What do you absolutely need, or what are you going to get in the draft based off once you know your draft slot? And then what is the strength and weakness of the draft, by the way? I mean, is there a whole bunch of elite? When I say whole bunch, is there 4 guys you say right now are elite pass rushers? Is there 4 guys you say, man, they all wide receivers that you say, man, you can interchange them. They're all, number 1 picks. So you got to think about where you're going to be, what you'll get access to. They got to see if they're going to be able to trade out of the pick, I'm assuming. Yeah. And if they can, if not, if you stick and stay, what is more valuable, a pass rusher or a receiver at this point based off what your moves were in free agency? See, so there's a lot of things, and you can target.
And they're building a big board for free agency.
I probably would target, you mentioned receiver, I would probably target a 28 and also bring in one, and I would re-sign Van Jefferson.
Yep.
See, I'm covering the board now. There's no way we can miss. I got insurance policy, Van Jefferson. I got a number 4. Guess what? I got a number one. Hopefully, he grooms the next one. Then hopefully the other guys, DK, Alec, get better. How much better? I don't know, but we shall see. But I'm covering myself, by the way, by proven guys in this league. And you can call them average all you want to. They are average in this league, and you know what they can do.
Right.
So that's kind of how I would approach it.
For your point about Lloyd Cushenberry and approach, it's like Tyler Linderbaum, who's the center for the Baltimore Ravens. Extension's possible, but they're not within striking distance as of a couple of weeks ago. If he were to hit the market, I would definitely, if you could guarantee, like if you're going to throw the bank again at a center and you throw it at Tyler Linderbaum, I'd be okay with that and then cutting Lloyd Cushenberry. But I don't think you're going to find a center as good as Lloyd is, and Lloyd's not been great, so don't get my words misconstrued, in free agency.
Right.
But maybe in the draft, because I've been thinking about that, is like I've looked at a couple of SEC guys like Connor Lew from Auburn, and I'm like, that dude's a pretty good center, and he's young, and he's cheaper. Maybe there's a path in the draft, and maybe you find a guy like Corey Levin to fill the need for this year.
Right. I mean, I thought Corey Levin did a good job.
Yeah.
The time that he did was out there. And so you say, okay, Corey Levin can buy us a year's time.
Yeah.
Right, till, let's say, the guy who can potentially be, a center, give him one more year, maybe a guard center, let him get healthy or whatever he is, and then you move forward. If you decide to go that direction without him. I don't know what kind of leadership he brings to the team.
Right.
That it brings value.
It
and
does,
with
especially this team.
I would, if he is a leader, I would assume he is. I would want to keep him for one more year. It's worth it. And we can buy ourselves even more time with a better player.
Right. And maybe you can give Jackson Slater maybe another year to develop into a center.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what you're starting to look at. And that's why they need to continue to throw some of these young guys out here and see what they really have.
Yeah.
Especially now, it's really no pressure, from a player's perspective. So, I mean, what the heck do you have to do? That's why I said you got to eventually see Restrepo. The last 4 games of the season, I'm playing all those guys. I want to see what I got, especially now at this point. We're 1-9, especially if that time you're 1-12 or whatever the number is. Throw them out. Let's see what they got, even if it's just for a quarter or half.
Because it's still, you're going to find out what he is against good defenses.
Yeah.
Defenses and teams that are still playing, that have something to play for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know, like, to me, it just looks
because
like
the average player, the role player or the, backup guy, that's what most of the teams are. So you want to refine all of that and make sure you got that.
Yeah.
You can hold on to that. Even though some of the guys on defense that you mentioned, they're 1-year deals, they're solid players. At worst case scenario, you got a solid player for 1 more year or a 2-year deal, and he's a role player that, outside of, bringing in a great pass rusher opposite him, and he can also teach him things.
Yep.
See, so that's how you kind of build a roster and then have young mixed with the old.
Because that's what they're trying to build for sustained success. There's many paths they could have taken for immediate short-term success, but they're trying to build for sustained success. And that's where I have a hard time figuring out what are they really going to spend in free agency? What are they really looking to do? What kind of players? Because we know they're trying to build something, but it's also kind of hard to say all this when you don't know who the head coach is.
And I also would bring in a proven veteran quarterback that has started multiple years in this league, and now he's a backup.
Not Brandon Allen.
Just not someone of that ilk. He's not a proven starter in this league. I want somebody. Guess what? Why? Because I don't want him to take the reps in practice. He doesn't need the reps because he's done it before. Can't have another young, unproven guy at number 2.
You want someone that has seen and experienced
and
a lot.
Help him out and hear what he's actually seeing.
Yeah.
So I just think that's why I was, stunned that they didn't bring in someone that was proven. And guess what? You think the players looking around from Brandon Allen for help? They play quarterback. You think you can? What do you think he's saying? What have you done? What are you going to do in this league?
That's probably definitely what
Well, I'm saying, why isn't him and Simeon reversed? Because I'm not saying Trevor Simeon.
Simeon came later, that's why.
Yeah, but he's not this ultra successful veteran or anything, but he's played.
He's played enough. He's played. Yep. I just don't think he's looked upon like that just because he didn't start for a long period of time.
But then why is Brandon Allen looked upon the way he is?
No, that was
your head coach.
Yeah.
Okay, coming up next, we're going to hear from a few people and their thoughts on Cam Ward, and we'll give you our thoughts as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Well, do you want to know about a place where European auto repair doesn't feel like European auto repair? Hey, it's Blaine Bishop to tell you that the moment you walk into Eurofix, you'll notice Eurofix is not your typical greasy garage. Waiting rooms, they're clean, comfortable, and inviting. Service areas are spotless, just like my house. Yeah, right. Why? Because Eurofix cares about everything, from how you are treated to how your vehicle is treated. And every repair comes with a rock-solid 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all repairs Eurofix performs, and at below dealer pricing. And you don't have to just put up with dealer pricing or get ghosted when you're waiting in a nice, luxurious waiting room for a call back. Yes, Eurofix fixes everything European, plus a rental car available with every appointment. Locations in Nashville, Franklin, Belmead, Murfreesboro, and Mount Juliet, and more to come. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or visit online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. Underdog Sports, I don't know if many people are worried or are aware of them, but they are a pretty big sports betting company, but they do a lot of film watch and all that kind of stuff. And they do a series every week called Stats versus Film. And so they go down and break down the stats, break down the film. They talk about what they've seen, what the difference is, what you may not know. And then something kind of similar to what we do on this show every day.
I was going to say, they could call it Blaine versus Zach.
Yeah, they could call it Blaine versus Zach. But essentially,
we end up getting the answers.
We usually find the answers. And I think they found the answers. And what they're going to say is a lot of the stuff that we've been saying. But I think sometimes it's good to hear for fans to hear an outside perspective.
Absolutely.
Because I think that sometimes when we come off, I don't think we do this on purpose, but I think fans can sometimes interpret local media as either being soft, two-tone blue glasses, and all this kind of stuff. We don't. But I think the fans do. I think we got to be fair.
Message can get stale sometimes.
Message can get stale sometimes. So I think it's good to hear from an outside perspective. Before we dive into that, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Nolan. Nolan, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah. So I just want to say, man, I think we still trending in the right direction. And what I haven't heard anyone kind of point out from the last game, like the offense actually, like I say, they went downfield, man, and scored at the end of that game now. And if defense would have held them off one more time, you see what I'm saying? It would be interesting to see if they could have came back and scored and maybe pulled the game out or whatever. But I heard a lot of talk about playing complementary, team ball or whatever. But, if defense would have held them off, I know they played a good game, but,
Yeah, they didn't make the play when they needed to. Yeah, we talked about that specifically. That the defense played great, but then when they needed a play and a stop, they couldn't come up with it. And that's typical where you come up short. You just, you find ways not to win the game. And they didn't come up with the play they needed. That's why I said Jeff needs to be, hey, man, you need to get that stop, though. Hey, you did that well all the way through, and then now let's get this stop when we need it. Which is easier said than done, by the way. But got to be careful when you start talking about the other side of the ball.
And it's been a big theme for the Tennessee Titans for a while now, even dating back to Vrabel. When you need a defensive stop, you can't get it. When you need an offensive score, you can't get it. When you need a field goal, you can't get it. It's been that. And this time, it was the defense's turn. Right. And it feels like we talk about complimentary football. You could play complimentary football for 59 minutes, but that last minute just fell short.
Yeah. I think what's coming up is we're talking about two different regimes as far as coaches, from Vrabel till now, and they just don't have the horses. They don't have enough. Jeff needs help, too. I mean, so offense naturally growing quarterback, and they still need help over there with, a legit number one in my mind, especially after Ridley is out. So, and those guys need help. It is what it is. I think they should start doing 2 tight end sets and just go with that as long as you can. And they may be forced to, as we mentioned before, because of the injuries to the wide receiver, and they haven't really, the guys they have on the roster that they're moving up, or besides Prochet, nobody else has a lot of experience in the league.
Right.
So why not just go with those guys? And we saw Chig can run. So you may find out more, at least this coaching staff, what Chig can actually do.
Yeah.
Because the guy can run.
And you're putting on tape maybe stuff for the next coaching staff and for this GM to maybe get a contract.
I think we're going to get more man coverage, too, just from the standpoint of, teams already didn't respect our receiving core that much, but now with the guys we got out there, if I'm Seattle with that great secondary, I would trust my guys in man, but that's good for our tight ends.
Running is going to be tough sledding for sure
they
from here on out.
They got legit defense. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
All the way around the board.
Yeah, I was just saying with Helm and Chig out there more, hopefully, like you were saying, Blaine, 2 tight ends. I like both of them against man coverage for different reasons, so got to take advantage if we get that. Yeah.
Well, let's hear from an outside perspective that's going to tie into 11 personnel and 12 personnel. And here's what Josh Norris had to say on the Titans' offensive problems.
To me, the Titans have an offensive environmental problem, And you have to figure that out before you can say that they have a quarterback problem. Like the play caller and offensive line coach, we know they're a package deal. It's literally father and son. The offensive line has not and continues to not play to their draft capital, which was heavy investments over 2 drafts and then a free agency process on top of it. The offense, unspectacular. I'm still trying to figure out, hey, what is this thing? And, some underlying metrics kind of paint that picture. Right now, the Titans are first in the NFL with 78% usage of 11 personnel on every single snap. All right. That's while using shifts and motion at the second lowest rate in the NFL. Then they're under center just 25% of the time, which is 24th in the league. And they're number 1 in just 3-by-1 sets. That's all very vanilla. It's all very basic.
And that's the issue I feel with this thing. And something, again, stuff that we have talked about, right? We have been pounding the drum that this team is probably in too much 11 personnel dating back to last year because that's what Brian Callahan's offense revolves around. It revolves around 3 wide receiver sets, 11 personnel. But this team, to take what he said one step further, is better at running the ball out of 11 personnel and better at passing the ball out of 12 personnel than vice versa. And when you have
information,
they should have that information. But I question if they're getting they should have access to that information, Blaine. But I question whether that information is being given, if it's the correct information being given, because sometimes you can have paralysis by analysis, right? Maybe this guy that is doing this or this woman that is doing this has too much information, doesn't know the information that really pertains to him. Like, to me, this is why you should have like a social media scraper, someone that is constantly looking at all the data accounts, because there's many of them, and saying, oh, well, here's where the Titans failed, but here's where our opponent failed. So like I said earlier in the week, that middle of the field coverage disguises have really confused Sam Darnold, and especially how the Rams did it. That's something the defensive personnel staff should have. If they don't have that, then that's a failure on the data analytics department. If they have that and don't utilize that, that is possibly a failure on the staff, depending on what their game plan turns out to be. But you should have this simple information, especially 11 personnel and 12 personnel, and the success rate you have on it. And if they have it, then we know that they're not using it enough frequently. Because 11 personnel 78% of the time is kind of crazy. And just real quick, because you don't have really, like you said, the horses, and you're doing that with, Van Jefferson, Elikiah Manor, and Chimere DK right now. So, and Elikiah Manor, second day in a row, he hasn't practiced. So should you be leaning into 12 personnel? Absolutely, you should be. And to me, that is like where I kind of look at it. So they're better at running the football out of 11 personnel, but they only run out of 11 personnel 28% of the time.
Well, the run game just seems like it's not functioning, let alone 11, 12. So they got to get that at least.
Well, I think now teams just figure it out. Well, look at the wide receivers you're filled in. You have a rookie quarterback, an offensive line that's a little bit inconsistent. We'll just stop the run, and you got to beat us through the air. And I would do the same thing if I was a defensive coordinator looking at this team.
Well, yeah, and Seattle's front, they're pretty good.
Pretty good.
Well, that's what was killing me, too. Like, I don't want to go back to last year, and we don't need to. But, we talked about, I think like a month or two ago, we talked about having Hopkins and Ridley and how we could never make that work out when they were on the team together. Like, that's what frustrates me about
Whereas
this.
you have the Rams with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and everyone feels.
Yes.
That's when I knew something was up. Like, how does this not happen? They act like they can only work with one guy.
And we're not saying that Hopkins and Ridley are Chase and Higgins or Nacua and Adams.
No.
Obviously, they're not. But, like, we have never, for the last 2 years under this system that we've been running, we don't know how to get guys involved. Like, we just don't.
It's wild.
I'll tell you one thing. Seattle knows how to get JSN involved.
And he's I mean, can anybody now we talked about Rashid Shaheed. They just traded for Rashid Shaheed.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I think the other guy,
Ooh, he's
could
a
you
blink of
name
lightning.
Cooper Kupp? But he's been injured and in and out of the lineup.
What's
So like
that tight end's name too? Barner or whoever. Man.
Yeah, he's been
AJ
good.
Barner.
And they got Arroyo, too, Cam's old teammate.
Elijah Arroyo's over there as well.
They got
But these
some kid
great-
named Thornton or somebody.
Yeah,
Young guy from Colorado State.
Horton.
Torrey Horton.
Yeah, man. I'm like, hey, man.
But they find ways to give everybody the ball, and if this one guy gets taken away, it doesn't faze them. Whereas this offense, if one guy gets taken away, sometimes it felt like over the last year and a half is like, oh my God.
So now I'm just hoping. Now we're just hoping, since we've got this kind of ragtag group out there this week, like maybe
Sometimes
that's a helpful thing.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's because they're going to play Xavier Restrepo and they're just going to spread the ball around and everybody gets to eat. Maybe that works. I don't know. I'm not. Listen, I ain't holding my. You notice I did not say the Titans are going to cover 13.5 because I'm not really believing it right now. But
well, I think the Titans need to go over and ask the offensive guys, coaches, need to go over and ask Denard what they see out of Seattle's offense.
Yeah.
Because the way they implement the rhythm of their offense and their playmakers and how they get them involved early and often is impressive. It's impressive. What Kubiak is the OC.
And when you have a Sam Darnold and you have a Jackson Smith and Jigba, then now you've got Rashid Shaheed, you got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in the backfield, and when you got the pieces, an offensive coordinator looks pretty good.
But it's the way they're going about how they play call. I get it. Yeah, better pieces, you're going to have a better...
more options in the feel and everything.
So you're saying that we can keep the same offensive staff and just get better pieces and we'll be good?
No, I'm not going that far there,
John. That's definitely not
Ross.
good.
Let's go to Hayden Winks and where Cam Ward can improve and why he is still high on him.
Go.
I still think he should scramble more, but I think he needs to get vertically on those. He has 14 scrambles this season. I thought the same thing at Miami, and those 14 scrambles are like really low ranking across the NFL. So I'm not just saying Cam Ward hasn't done anything wrong. He definitely has, and he believes in his arm a bit too much and all that type of stuff, makes wayward throws. I just believe because of the arm, like you're saying, that he is going to have enough when he at least, and the surrounding environments, at least goes from awful to average in a whole bunch of spots.
Again, kind of a little bit of surroundings, but he did bring up the stuff. He doesn't scramble a lot. Guess what? And he even said that he didn't scramble a lot in Miami, and he needs to scramble more. Listen, trust his arm a little too much. Stuff that we have said. It's just that it's nice to hear it from an outside perspective when people are like, yeah, this is kind of a bad situation. I mean, bad situation, personnel-wise around him, a head coach change as well. He's getting better, I think we can say, but it's just not at the pace that probably fans want. I thought yesterday was his best game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Man, I'm still stuck on what Seattle does.
Yeah.
And how do we approach our offseason coach hire? Because they got to turn around pretty quick. With a first year time at the time, head coach Will McDonald, who's the DC of the Ravens. So I'm sure he knows Denard Wilson. It's just, and then he's hired an OC that is very productive. Then they signed a quarterback that was a middle-of-the-road quarterback with pieces around him. And all of a sudden now these guys, Daniel Jones and all these quarterbacks, starting looking very productive. So we got to make sure we get some pieces around Cam, let alone you got to have every game is different, have a balanced attack to a certain extent.
Yep.
I think we're just a passing offense. I mean, when people watch us, man, this is those days you can't pass every down and be in the shotgun. That just don't work. You got to have a threat in the running game. You have to run the ball. If you can't run now, you're putting your quarterback at arm's way. That's why I got all these sack numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think they need to, really
you're putting your offensive line at a disadvantage.
No doubt. When I look back at the offensive line, I thought really as far as passing the ball, I thought they did okay. I mean, what they had the one sack with Moore, the sack caused fumble. I'm sure there were some other sacks in there, but it was anything that was like, oh man, this team is just horrible offensive line pass protection. I didn't see that. And J.C. Latham, by the way, I thought he played pretty well outside of the false starts. And you could say, oh yeah, well those plays didn't hurt him, but as far as his pass protection and them chipping and everything else, man, I couldn't find anything that made me like, oh my God, he's horrible.
Yeah.
Like there was none of that in there. So whoever's saying that crap needs to stop.
Well, let's talk about that coming up next. I want to get into that. We'll also go to Stryker, who's on the phone as well. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
I almost believe that.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. Let's go to Stryker. Stryker, you're on Blaine and Zach.
Stryker.
One of the suggestions that I would make is that anybody calling in who's criticizing Cam Ward should ask themselves if they've never been hit by a 300-pounder coming at 4.4 speed off the edge, or been in an auto accident where they were T-boned by a dump truck, they have no business criticizing the decisions he's making as the quarterback. There's a real irony that they're playing the Seattle Seahawks, where Sam Darnold was a quarterback that everyone loved to hate. Mm-hmm. And with Cam Ward, I admire his strength, stamina, and resolve. I cringe every time they show his parents in the stands. But this guy is taking a beating, and he represents the team, the city, his teammates. And I don't understand why people are criticizing a sidearm pass when the guy is trying to survive in the backfield. And in fact, the cruel irony is being the number one pick because you know you're going to go to the worst team in the league. Let's get real about this kid. Is remarkable in terms of his strength, stamina, and resolve. Anybody criticizing him needs to look in the mirror. I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's way too early. I think there's a lot of mitigating factors. Let's see what it starts next year, but at least now we have a baseline to compare for next year.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, he's tough as nails.
Tough as nails.
No doubt.
Okay, so let's get to this J.C. Latham talk, because I went back for the second time. So I've watched now the 43 pass plays on the All-22 twice. Pray for me, by the way. 10, because everybody's been talking about there's been constant chipping and help and all this stuff from J.C. Latham. I never got that sense in the game. And, you know, that's where it started during the game, and then it kind of like this perpetuation of this idea that he was getting all this help, all this crazy help. I'd like to say this. First off, how many times have we watched this team play over the years from Mike Vrabel on down and said, man, why aren't they providing chip help to these tackles?
Yeah.
And now that they do it, and they do it just on a very few handful of snaps or a little bit more, a handful of snaps, they do it. Now it's an indictment of the player against the number one defense, by the way.
With some great pass rushers.
With some great pass rushers. So I went through and I counted the chips for both Dan Moore and J.C. Latham. This is not including guards where, like, you know, they send a four-man pass rush and Kevin Zeitler or Peter Skronsky don't have a guy to block and they go to block, help out that tackle.
Hand on the inside.
Hand on the inside. Like, we don't know those kinds of, you know, assignments and stuff. So I did running back, wide receivers, and tight ends. J.C. Latham on 43 plays had 13 instances of chip help where a guy came in, chipped him. Well, he only had one instance where the running back just stayed and blocked, and that was the touchdown pass just to kind of help seal that edge while that was the play side.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was playing in the play.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously that is to help Cam Ward, not an indictment of J.C. Latham. Dan Moore had it 10 times. So it wasn't a huge discrepancy. In a couple plays, they both were getting help at the same time by tight ends that chipped on the way out of 12 personnel. That's pretty common.
Yeah, I love the game plan, though, on that alone from the offense, because that slows the guys down on their pass rush. And then they're always thinking about it, looking out the corner of their eye, hey, this guy going to ear hole me before he goes out. Because the tight ends were split out a little bit, like 2 or 3 yards. And so they almost were right in front or right on the outside shoulder of the pass rusher. And he's looking like, hey, man, is this guy about to ear hole me and knock me down because I'm not, paying attention to this guy. And they did it a couple times on both sides, as you mentioned. And I thought that was great because that slows them down and they're always looking for it. And you just need that extra little beat.
I even thought there was a couple of instances in my notes where I felt that the running back or the tight end could actually chip the guy on the way out just to help. It may have been unnecessary to the play itself, but just a little football instinct to take over. But at the end of the day, I didn't feel like in the moment it was a huge indictment of J.C. Latham or Dan Moore. And after reviewing the tape, still not a huge indictment. In fact, I would almost say this offensive line played a whole lot better than I actually thought it would have against this defensive line.
From the passing perspective.
From the passing perspective. Now, the run blocking was atrocious, but the pass blocking specifically, listen, it was not an A-plus game from J.C. Latham. The stats will tell you he was 0 pressures and all that kind of stuff. I didn't really feel that it was a A-plus game. But we're talking, I felt like it was a B-plus game, and I felt it was J.C. Latham's best pass-blocking game of the year so far, especially considering the competition he was facing. Will Anderson last year beat him like a drum. And I think that he got the better of those instances more often than not. He still has a problem resetting his anchor. Probably is a hip issue, but we'll see. But this team runs a lot of pass vertical sets, and not a lot of jump sets where the guys can get aggressive and get their hands on the defenders. And I think that kind of does a disservice to at least J.C. Latham's play style.
Yeah, I think, he's still trying to figure out what he can get away with in the league, let alone play through an injury that's getting better, but he's not sure of himself. And that's, when you're in the middle of that as an athlete, not sure what your body is capable of, that's always going to be tough, especially, a guy like, big like that in the trenches. So, yeah, he's still figuring it out, but I thought he played solid. I thought the offensive line, as you mentioned, played solid in the pass game. Run game was a little different. Naturally, if one guy makes a mistake, then, the whole play could be ruined. But, so I was actually surprised in the pass game. So, I thought they had a great game playing the whole way through. Yeah.
And you're right, sorry, Blaine, go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
I was just going to say, it's like what Zach was saying. You've got to mess it up, change things up a little bit at tackle. It's almost like corner and receiver. If I'm a corner and I'm playing up at the line, I can't just two-hand press all the time. I might one-hand press or I might show and bail. As an offensive tackle, you got to change stuff up because when they do have those one-on-ones, you don't want them just going.
But I don't think that's how they're coached.
Yeah, no, I hear that's the scary part.
Is that I think when you go back and look at Cleveland and look at a few things from last year as well, I don't feel like they were coached that way. And maybe you could say that. He was the
best in the business, right?
He was the best in business. You may be able to say Scott. Yeah, offensive line Jesus or guru and all that stuff. But at the same time, Scott Fuchs, maybe he should be changing it up a little bit. I don't know, but you're in these close games and it feels like they're trying to play garbage time offense or throughout the whole game. You got to start establishing the run and sticking with it a little bit more. Get these offensive linemen in a rhythm. Just 2 weeks ago against Chargers, which are not the run defense that the Texans are. The Chargers have a worse run defense than Texans. Up until the Wildcat in the first half, 7.6 yards per carry. They were chewing up ground. And then over on the flip side, 4.4 yards per carry in the second half when you exclude the Wildcat runs that got stuck. So they are capable of moving it, maybe not against the Texans, but they are. And they're probably not going to be capable of moving it against the Seahawks because the Seahawks are really good. But at the same time, you have to show somewhat of a commitment. And they haven't shown a big enough commitment to the run, which is, again, something we've been complaining about for it feels like a year.
Well, lastly on that is, it's almost like when we were talking about the wide receiver. We can't get two wide receivers, have a really good day and get them involved. I don't ever feel like we can get the run game and the passing game clicking all at the same time.
Going back to what you said about Seattle, right?
Like it's two different,
there's no marriage.
Yeah, they're not working together.
Yep. They are not. No marriage, no unison, no, hey, we're showing you this look and we're going to run the ball out of this look for a few times. And then, hey, boom, same look. And then we're going for a pass down the road. Yeah. No marriage at all.
Can't get it.
All right, that will do it for us. 3HL's up next. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.